We got hands to get into already. So in this first one, very early on in the session, we raised ace-8 of diamonds up to $20. No less than 5 callers. So a standard 6-way pot here in Los Angeles in which we flop the world. The flop comes down 8 high with 2 diamonds. So after confirming just how many crazy gamblers are in this pot, I bet $60, which is half pot. How many people? 6. Player on my left calls, and there is a player in late position who puts in a raise. He makes it, I think, $165 total. So a little bit of a decision between flatting and just getting it in, but I'm basically never folding in this hand. So I think I can either call and allow the player on my left to call as well, or just go ahead and rip it in and not have to think about it any further. I decided on the former. I decided to flat call and keep all bluffs in, keep drawing hands in that I dominate, who knows what else. But I'm never folding, even if we brick out on the turn and we have to face a bet. So I make the call, and the player on my left decides he wants to jam it in.
Donation.
So after he jams it in, the action is reopened. The player who raised it does not jam it in. He flat calls, but now that it's only another maybe $300 or so, it's $550 altogether, something in that range. I'm just gonna stick it in now so we don't have to think any further. We don't have to do any more counting. I jam it all in, and the player in late position is pot committed. He calls as well. So we're up to see 2 cards here against 2 opponents. The turn is a brick for us. We do not improve. The river, however, is another 8, and it improves us to trips ace kicker. We roll it over, and the player in last position has pocket queens that did not 3-bet pre-flop. So that's going to cost him. Depending on his size pre-flop, I might not have folded anyway, so it might not have changed anything, but it depends on his sizing, and there are some sizings I would have folded too. Anyway, we're scooping a monster pot here in the early going, all in 3 ways, and we are scooping it and up about $1,000 in the early stages.
What a player.
Look at all those chips. Looks really good on the vlog. The very next hand, while I'm still scooping in this ridiculous sized pot, there's a raise from early position of $15. I think there's a call or 2, and we look down at ace-5 of clubs. Very standard call here. The flop is another beauty. We flop the world once again. We flop a double gutter plus the nut flush draw. Check to the initial raiser, who bets $40, and it folds back to us. He's only got somewhere around $200 to $250 in his stack altogether. So I think with all this equity, I think it's a pretty straightforward jam being out of position. The roots not go all in here, so I'm all in. I stick it in there, and my opponent pretty much snap calls. We're off to the races again. I show him what he's up against or what we're looking to improve with. We do not improve on the turn, and we do not improve on the river versus the Jack-3 of clubs that came in for the raise and flopped a pair plus worse flush draw. So pretty sure we're a favorite there. I'm not too sure. I want to check the math. I want to see what exactly the math looks like in that situation, but unfortunately we have to give a little bit of a rebate after scooping a huge pot. In this next hand, there are several limps before the small blind puts in what's kind of a small raise. It makes it $20 to go. We're in the big blind. We look down at ace-king offsuit. So facing that sizing, even though my opponent might be a little bit stronger than average, we still have ace-king, which is a premium hand, and it's a smaller sizing than usual. I'm also kind of out of position to the rest of the field aside from the small blind, so I think that makes sense in terms of putting in a 3-bet. I pop it up to $60. The player, who we are developing a bit of history with, he cold calls, and the small blind calls as well. So 3 ways to a flop, which comes out ace high with a flush draw. Small blind checks. I'm going to bet $110 here. The limper makes the call, and the small blind folds it. So heads up to a turn card, which is an offsuit 9. I'm going to check it here, check it for a little bit of pot control. We do have the king of clubs, so that eliminates some flush draws that he can have. There's going to be a lot of aces, top pairs that he's going to have, but I don't know if we can get 3 streets versus that type of a hand anyway. So I check it, and my opponent bets $200. Very happy to call here. I toss it in, and we are off to a river card, which is another 9. So this is actually a pretty good card because we're beating ace-5 now. We still lose to ace-10. We lose to pocket 5s. I don't think he's ever going to have pocket 10s. He could have some sort of a random 9 of clubs. Yeah, he could have a 9 of clubs. He could have backdoored into trips, but there's some other hands that we beat. So I'm feeling okay about this when I check and my opponent bets $350. Not going to think about this for too long. We have ace-king and the flush draw bricked out. So after we check call the turn, I'm just gonna have to check call the river here, and my opponent announces a full house. He rolls over the 10-9 offsuit, so not exactly the full house that I might have expected, but a full house nonetheless, and that's gonna beat ace-king. So things are not going as good as they were in the immediate going. We started off up $1,000 and now not so much. One more hand from this craziness has happened on table number 1. Same loose player opens for $20. The button puts in a raise up to $60, I believe. And we looked at an ace-king of clubs in the small blind. So the player on the button only has maybe $450. He's got less than 100 big blinds effective. There's craziness going on this table. He could easily be going for value with a variety of hands versus this initial raiser. And we have ace-king of suited and we're out of position. So all this is gonna add up to a 4-bet jam when the opponent, the 3-better on the button, has less than 100 big blinds effective. We stick it in there. As expected, the middle position opener folds it and the player on the button calls it. He tells me to get the camera ready.
Get the camera rolling.
All right, it's rolling. Okay, good luck. It's ready and rolling, and we are up against pocket kings. So things have taken a turn here for sure. We're off to the races, looking for the 30% to come through. It doesn't come through on the flop, the turn, or the river. So dust off another $400, $450 there. After being up $1,000 in the immediate going, we are now well into Stuckville after table numero uno. All right, I'm going that direction. I'm going over there somewhere. I'm gonna try and turn the tide here. The California variance is in full effect.
I just want to see how a professional poker blogger does what he does best.
This is not a good hand to come and watch.
I'm just gonna go away now. I'm just gonna step away and give some commentary here real quick. This is never gonna work. It's never gonna work. He got raised. He got raised. I saw it. All right, so carrying on and made it over to this table right here. There was an interesting hand that went down. I believe there was a late position open, or no, there was a middle position open and several callers. We looked down at pocket jacks in the small blinds. Prime squeezing opportunity here, so don't want to play out of position, don't want to flat call, don't want to let the big blind in for a cheap price. Go ahead and 3-bet it up to 100 and I think 25 or 130, something like that. This guy just rips it all in there. How much money did you have?
470.
470, baby, against the Neeme.
470.
$470.
Under the gun limb, the old classic.
You?
Yeah.
No, I think you were big blind.
No, I was the under the gun.
Are you sure?
Yes, 100%. Under the gun limb.
So I don't think so.
Under the gun limb.
If that's true,
that's 100% true.
if that's true, then I like my play a lot less. But anyway, I thought he was the big blind at the time. I'm still not convinced, but rips it in for 470, folds back to us. I think for that price, we were 3-betting for value, so we're pretty much just pot committed here. We're going with it. Congratulations to this guy for having pocket kings when I have pocket jacks for under 100 big blinds.
Tell them to flop.
It was dramatic. It was a little bit dramatic. We flopped a flush draw. Just a little bit extra tease in the whole situation. The good news is he bought me some Blue Label. So cheers. Small consolation prize, but it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, 470. This is 500. There is check.
I thought I had a big axe here.
All right, guys, we're just about to wrap up this meetup game, cash game here at the Gardens Casino in Los Angeles. Before we get into one more hand of notes, just to wrap it up, you know, something that yet another thing that we can file under things that I never saw coming, things that I never would expect to happen when I first started a YouTube blog was approximately 19 tables worth of people
singing me happy birthday in the casino. Getting you all in the vlog. Happy birthday, dear Andrew. Happy birthday to you. All right. Oh, money. I got money. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Shout out to Brad for making that happen. Shout out to all of you guys who joined us here at this meetup game. Just a ridiculous turnout. 19 tables worth of 5-5 games, plus the additional 5-5 games that were already running in the high limit section. I think there was a total of 24 games or something running at this stake level. A massive number and a record-setting number for Los Angeles meetup games, that's for sure. All right, last hand of notes. There's a straddle on. There's an early position race, $35. We look down at sevens, make a call, and straddle or calls. We finally find a favorable flop here tonight. Flop comes ace jack 7 with a flush draw. Action checks over to me. Definitely gonna bet it, try to get some money in this pot on a wet board.
60?
60?
Yeah.
I bet $60 and the straddler puts in a min raise up to $120.
120.
This is a pretty good sign. He's never gonna have pocket aces or pocket jacks here. Would always expect him to 3-bet those hands. So we have the virtual nuts. The initial raiser folds back over to us. On top of that 120, I have about $375. So there's gonna be a lot of cards that could kill a lot of action. Some straight cards, some flush cards. I would love to get the money in as fast as possible. So I shovel it all in there. We're all in for an additional $375 on top of that 120.
All in?
All in.
375.
My opponent thinks for a brief while before calling it. I announce what I have right away, and he is none too pleased. The board runs out pretty safe for us. I don't think there's any clubs that roll off there. And we do, in fact, scoop this pot, which is a rare highlight. Not too many highlights since that very first hand, that very first table in which we scooped a big pot. So we do find a double up here. It's not gonna get us anywhere close to unstuck. We're into this game for no less than $3,000 US in a 5-5 game, 600 max. Things did not go our way tonight. We cashed out of this game for right around $1,100. So we lose $1,900.